Yes. So I was saying, for those of you who might not know, that is, in my background is Swami Paramarthananda, a living guru of the lineage. He lives in Chennai, and I was in Chennai right now meeting him. It's always such a blessing when you get to be in his presence, and especially more than being in his presence, if you get to attend his class. So if any of you are ever passing through Chennai, do reach out to me and I'll give you his class schedule, and you must drop in for a class or two. It's an amazing blessing to be able to hear in person. So I just met him and received his blessings yesterday. So I'm feeling a lot of devotion, and hence, while we dedicate all classes to the Guru Parampara, today I felt like having the background as well. So, yes, I had a wonderful meditation retreat. I thought of all of you and sent some good vibes while I was there, and I hope it was received.
Yes, you did.
I'm happy to have you all back, and I hope it was a beautiful start to the new year so far, and wishing you all the best in this spiritual journey this year.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's restart. We were on the topic, the very core topic of Aikyam, right? Which is the essential teaching of Vedanta. You were being told that Jivatma are the same as Paramatma. Let me just mute everyone. So the Jivatma are the same as Paramatma, is what you were being told. So we went through one of the most important Mahavakyams, which gave us this essential teaching that Tattvamasi, thou art that. And when the teacher says this, Tattvamasi, thou art that, you, the student, has to convert the saying accordingly, and you have to hear it as I am that, aham brahmasmi. So the student has to understand that what I call God till now is none other than me. I am God. Of course, initially, this may sound preposterous. That's why Shastra gives you the same teaching in different ways till it is understood, till it is completely assimilated, so that your mind does not chuckle when you try to claim aham brahmasmi. It is an intellectual problem, a problem of ignorance, which needs to be removed, and that's what Shastra is here to do. We explored exactly how this Mahavakyam should be understood, and we introduced two technical terms. I hope you remember. We use the terms Varchyartham and Lakshyartham. When the word reveals the total object, the direct meaning, if I say a banana and it means the banana with the peel and everything, the word, when it's revealing the direct meaning, it means the Vachyartham. When the word reveals a part of the object or an indirect meaning or an implied meaning, it's called Lakshyartha. So when I say I eat a banana, you assume that I have taken off the peel and I'm eating the flesh of the banana, right? And we talked about many more examples like that. And you as intelligent listeners must always take the appropriate meaning. So similarly, when I say aham brahmasmi, I am Brahman, what do we mean by the I? This I, who I'm equating to Brahman, is not the body-mind sense complex. It's not the pancha prana. It's not the five koshas that we discussed. It is that pure consciousness. When I say I am thin, I am writing, I am feeling excited, we're talking about different, this ahamkara I. and these different aspects of the Panchaprana or the koshas that we talked about. But when I say Aham Brahmasmi, I'm talking about my highest nature, which is me as the consciousness principle. So we also looked at the Shariratrayam and the Prapanchatrayam. One is the micro and the other is the macro. So when we equate Tattvamasi, thou art that, we have to correctly take what to consider for thou and what to consider for that. When we say the Jivatma is the same as the Paramatma, we have to put the equation correctly. Disregard what does not make sense, correct? So me, the Jivatma, with this Shariratrayam, with limited capabilities, limited cognition, limited, powers, I cannot be equated to Paramatma with Shariram as this whole universe itself, with handling all these complex laws of nature, of karma, and so on, who is omnipotent and omnipresent. So we are not equating to the body, the three bodies of the Paramatma. So this equation only makes sense when you consider the OC, the original consciousness. The original consciousness which pervades this body is none other than the original consciousness which also exists in Ishvara. And it is not separated by any kind of time or space. It is all pervading, and hence this equation makes sense. So when you understand the I as the consciousness principle, which pervades the Shariratrayam and makes the Shariratrayam sentient, then you can correctly say, Aham Brahmasmi, I am that. So if you take the Vachyartha, what you see, you will only arrive at the superficial meaning. But when you take the Lakshyartha, you will arrive at the real meaning, the implied meaning of this Mahavakyam. So wave, when we say the wave and the ocean, it's Vachyartha. The water is the Lakshyartha. That is how the wave is same as the ocean, because in a sense, both are just water. So I and Ishvara are essentially only Atma Chaitanyam. Jiva and Ishvara are the same Atma Chaitanyam appearing in two distorted media of the Shariratrayam and the Prapanchatrayam. So the OC of the Jiva, of me, of you, does not have any inferior attributes than the one of Ishvara. In fact, they do not have any attributes at all. They're exactly one and the same. When you go to a movie and as the movie is projected on the screen accommodates everything. It accommodates violence, love, both the pure and the impure. But when the movie ends, the screen is unaffected. No matter what happened during the course of the movie, the screen remains completely unaffected because it belongs to a different level of reality. And so does this consciousness. It belongs to the highest level of reality. So hence go ahead and confidently say, I am God, but knowing that you're talking about the consciousness principle, not this face that you see in the mirror or the intellect you associate with, not your personality, not you born on a particular date. You were never born and you will never die. So when you are able to say with complete confidence, I am God, Aham Brahmasmi, with equal confidence, you should be able to say that that boss who was completely horrible to you at some point is also God. The nosy neighbor who may get on your nerves is also God. Or the mother-in-law who triggers you sometimes is also God. When you can say that with equal confidence, that's when you will be able to claim Aham Brahmasmi. The difficulty is this undistorted Chaitanyam can never be experienced directly. It can only be experienced through the reflecting medium. So to observe the consciousness principle in a Jivatma, where it's dependent on that Shariratraya, which is why after the death of the physical body, the consciousness is no longer perceptible there anymore because the reflecting medium is gone. Just like you never see the electricity which powers the light bulb, but you know it is there. And hence, Shastra also tells us that the sentiency that you see in this body belongs to that original consciousness alone. And we've lived in this, the truth of this electricity for so long. So if the bulb is broken and it no longer is giving any light, you don't assume that there is no electricity. So similarly, we have to start living with this higher truth. If the body is no longer there, if the physical body dies, you will always survive. There is, even if you lose a loved one, who's the physical body is gone, you can be sure that you have not lost anything. You cannot lose anything because the consciousness itself is always there. When this kind of knowledge becomes your own, we call it paroksha jnanam, indirect knowledge becoming a proksha jnanam. So right now you're in this process of doing shravanam. Eventually you will do contemplation on this, and this knowledge will become undoubted knowledge. At some point in time, this will also start getting, this knowing will become the being, right? You will have, when that, I won't get into the technical details of how, but because you will get into it later on in Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads and so on. But when that realization happens, it's not that you did something to become something, because you were always eternal. So once the ignorance was removed, you now identify with your real self, right? You know, I am the consciousness principle, which was never born, which never dies. So we talked about so many benefits of that moksha, but this fear of death, fear of mortality, all completely disappears. And with that, any other fears, any other clinging, any other suffering will also disappear. It's a beautiful point to look forward to. Before you had Shastra Pramanam in your life, you were reliant on your sense organs, which were only capable of providing you a distorted version of who you are. Now that this knowledge has been revealed to you through Shastra, practice living with the truth of who you really are. Sometimes it's a bit of the process is a bit of a fake it till you make it. So constantly keep doing these contemplations, keep doing these meditations. And at some point, when your system is purified enough, that knowledge will become your own. For now, this contemplation and meditation, you must do at every possible moment for it to become the living truth, for this indirect knowledge to become your own direct knowledge. Raviji says that even if someone calls you in the middle of the night and asks you who you are, the answer should come to the mind, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. Of course, we do not go around saying this out loud to other people who might not understand what we mean. If you get pulled aside by security at the airport and they ask, who are you? You will give the answers that you need. You will say the name you were given in this, for this body. You will say, I'm going here and here and so on. You will not say, I'm all pervading, so I'm not going anywhere, right? So some amount of balance has to be maintained. This knowledge should not make you imbalanced. We should always be aware which level of reality we are talking about. The absolute paramarthika level of reality, or this vyavaharika, the transactional level of reality. When you continue to relate to that distorted version of yourself, that is samsara. Samsara is just that. Thinking I'm a limited being, thinking I'm an incomplete being, feeling, and this feeling of incompleteness, which has you going around trying to find completeness from external object because of this mistaken notion. This feeling of incompleteness, we call it apurnaha, apurvattam, is the root of all this samsara. It's the root of all desires, kama. And these desires are endless. Even when desires are fulfilled, it will lead to lobha, greed. You will want more of that because you think this happiness, you mistakenly think this happiness came from something external. And when the desires are not fulfilled, it leads to krodha, anger. And in whatever way this will be, this will always lead to more and more desires. And because of these desires, you will go do actions in the world, and these actions will result in karma. And hence it's that vicious cycle just goes and on and on. There is only one way out of that vicious cycle. That is allowing jnanam to take root and remove this misconception, this wrong notion of who you think you are, and claim the right notion. So this is where a bit of Shraddha also comes in now. Shraddha on the words of the Shastra and the teacher, because no other pramanam will be able to reveal your nature to you, as we discussed quite well. If you want to see, experience this undistorted original consciousness, you will be disappointed. There's not going to be any fireworks and amazing visions or devatas appearing in front of you, or some kind of kundalini awakening, which is going to signify this realization. This realization can only come from that knowledge. For sure, all these practices like meditation, I mean, I was at a big meditation retreat myself. All these practices which are required for chitta shuddhi, for purity of the mind, are very essential. Because now, actually, we're coming to the close of this Tattva Bodha text, and if you listened well, you already have the knowledge. There is nothing more to this knowledge. We will be now, the rest of the study you do, you will be listening to the same knowledge again and again. But you don't yet have that complete chitta shuddhi. You don't have that complete sadhana chatushtaya, which is why this has not become direct knowledge to you. And for this, you must do all these practices. You must do sadhana, you must do meditation, you must do karma yoga. Bhagavad Gita will give you the whole range of sadhanas that you must do for this purification. And like I said before, even this knowledge that you're listening to, till such time complete purity of mind has occurred, this is also karma yoga for you. Only on complete chitta shuddhi will this become jnana yoga for you. So remove the self-imposed limitation, which is samsara, and work towards accepting the Mahavakyam, which tells you Tattvamasi. So now we are left with the last section of Tattva Bodha, which is what is the benefits of this knowledge? And the next verse will give an introduction. So I gave a long introduction today because we're meeting after a long break. And of course, this is a critical, important topic and always worth revisiting well. So any questions in what I said so far before we move ahead?
We can move ahead.
Sorry, Neelam, you had a question?
No, we can move ahead.
Okay. Sure. Okay, you can unmute yourself to chant after me. Evam cha
Evam cha
Vedanta vakyaihi
वेदान्तवाक्यैः
Sadguru Padeshena cha
Sadguru Chaitanya
Sarveshu sorry.
Sarveshu
I'm sorry. Sarveshapi Bhuteshu
सर्वेषु
Esham Brahma Buddhirutpanna
येषां बुद्धिरुत्पन्ना
Te Jeevan Mukta Ityuchartah.
Te Jeevan Mukta Ityuchatah.
So the verse says, Evam cha, and thus, Jiva Ishvara Yogo, between the Jiva and Ishvara, Chaitanya Rupena Veda, there is no difference in the form of consciousness. Badaka, abhava, there is nothing to negate that. Badaka is basically any factor which negates a previous contention. Example, we talked about the Raju Sarpa example. A man is walking in twilight and he sees a rope and gets scared because in that dim light, it appeared to be a snake. But then the light comes and he sees the rope clearly and the fear goes away. So in this case, the light was the factor which removed the misconception. And light, of course, always signifies knowledge. And in your case, knowledge is what will remove this misconception. What is the badaka here? What is the vritti drawn out of the pramana? What was the error here? Is what we're talking about. So the thought, the vritti born out of your sight was wrong. But when the light negates that previous pramana, negates what you thought was a snake, and you see the rope in the same place, that was the same object was mistaken as a snake will now very clearly be seen as a rope. So that is the badaka, that is the factor which negates that previous wrong conception. What is gone is badita, the appearance of the snake. Sometimes when that badita, this mistake will not go away with sense perception itself. For example, every day you will see the sun rising and the sun setting. So by now, you know that the sun doesn't actually rise or set, but you did not get this knowledge from sense perception. And even after knowing this knowledge, you will still continue to see the sun rising and the sun setting with your sense perceptions. But you know the truth. So sense perception cannot always remove this error. And in the case of who you think you are, sense perception certainly will not do that. So similarly, that conclusion of I am of limited knowledge, limited power, limited spatially, is standing between you and the statement Tattvamasi. And we know this can only be removed for Shastra Pramanam. And Shastra Pramanam will work, trust me. So do not wait for some other Pramanam to do that job to you. So do not wait for some kind of fireworks for this to happen. The author says this knowledge is highly beneficial. It's not just some scholarly knowledge to know, but it is also very practical because it gives us what we are looking for: happiness, freedom from suffering, a feeling of completeness, which we call moksha or mukta. I asked you before, do you want to be happy now or happy tomorrow? Do you want to be, excuse me, do you want to be happy in this room or outside this room? And you all told me, I want permanent, everlasting happiness. I want to be happy everywhere, right? So that's what moksha is. And whatever else, whatever goals we might have, that's perfectly fine. Shastra says, whatever goals you have, be it for wealth, be it for family, all these are fine, right? So go pursue the goals that you have. And in time, they will fall away naturally. Maybe if you keep feeding this inquiry, maybe in this lifetime or maybe another time. But the difference is, at this point, because now you've entered the study, use discernment and know what is exactly that you want. So even after knowing all this, you might still have a desire for wealth. That's perfectly fine, right? But start noticing that this desire for something else is basically this ultimate desire for unlimited happiness. And whether you know it fully right now or not, what you're actually seeking is moksha. So that's the difference between most people and a seasoned Vedantic student. Is that it's Vedantic student at some point realizes that what I'm actually seeking is moksha. That's the only desire I have, no matter in what other forms it might actually be manifesting right now. We looked at, even from the class 1, we looked at several benefits, breaking down what moksha actually means. I won't go into them again, but you remember there were Jignasa Nivritti, Vidyananda Prapti, Karpanna Nivritti, Agata Nivritti, and Dakshata Prapti. If those words sound unfamiliar to you, you need to go back and look at your notes. So enjoying all these in full measure is moksha. Then the author also gives us the mode of undertaking the study. So in the same verse, but any questions so far? So the author says in this verse, never try to study this or gain this knowledge by yourself. Don't go on an independent self-study, because that's not how this knowledge is to be gained. Self-study will not give moksha, and in fact, might be counterproductive, because the knowledge given in the Vedas is very vast, and there is several interpretations of it also. And there is a systematic manner in which it has to be revealed. Shastra will say different things for your sadhana, addressing people at different stages of spiritual evolution. And you need the guidance of the sampradaya to reveal this knowledge systematically and help you identify which stage of spiritual evolution you are at and what is hence the sadhana you need to do. So if, for example, if you came across Tattvamasi, but you were not aware of this concept of RMOC and the distortions perceived because of the reflecting medium, you read you are God, and you can end up chasing omnipotency. You can end up chasing immortality in this mortal body. So there are also many yogis who in deep practice, deep meditative practice, awaken certain siddhis, certain powers, right? Powers of spatial travel, powers of being able to transmit the thoughts, so many more. The yogic texts will talk about all this. But for a Vedantic student, this is irrelevant, right? Because whatever powers awaken because of practice, it's again just Maya. That's not going to help you exit this world of Maya. And when these siddhis, if at some point they awaken for someone and they practice, they can even become a roadblock, and it becomes a critical stage to be able to cross and not become attached to these siddhis, not create a new ego, not create even bigger ahamkara. So, and instead continue past that and seek the ultimate truth. Therefore, the author says this knowledge has to be gained through scriptures and a teacher. You already know why scriptures, because that's the only pramana which can reveal this to you. And why teacher? Because the teacher of a sampradaya has been through a systematic process of study and knows how to reveal this knowledge to you. So the Shastra says the teacher has to be Brahmanishta and Shotriya. So Brahmanishta means abiding in the one who's abiding in the self, and he should be part of a sampradaya. He must have had a teacher in this lifetime. Vedanta Vakyam, it also says, with the help of Vedantic statements is how this study must be undertaken. The teacher should not be giving their own teaching or own interpretations. They must use the Vedantic statements, especially these Vedantic Mahavakyas like Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi, and make use of these statements and Sadguru Upadeshenacha, with the help of systematic teachings of a Sadguru, which means one who has effective method of communication, has the methodology of transmitting this difficult knowledge, is how this study should be undertaken. The teacher also learns this information, like not only learns this information in a systematic manner from their teachers, but they also learn how to transmit this knowledge in a systematic manner during the course of the study. And as we keep saying again and again, it has to be a systematic study undertaken for a sufficiently long period of time. No one can tell you what this time must be. As I mentioned, if you are here interested in Vedanta, you are at a good point in this journey. If you're sticking through now towards the last couple of these classes of our almost 6 months course, there is enough chitta shuddhi for you to be ready for jnana, right? And from here, how long that journey will take will depend on your own effort as well as prarabdha, which we will come to. What is prarabdha? I meant it will depend on your karma. So, with the help of a teacher in Shastra, this verse says, Sarveshu api bhuteshu brahma buddhir utpanna. Buddhir here means jnana. So the knowledge of Brahman will arise through Guru Shastra Upadesha. This knowledge of Brahman refers to the OC, the original consciousness, which is present in every living being, every medium, every body. That is what meant by Sarveshu api bhuteshu. While the OC is the same, because of the different RMs, it appears different. And one who understands this knowledge, he is a Jeevan Mukta. He's a liberated wild being. So again, briefly, we said, so now this Shravanam itself has given you the knowledge. And at some point, after you do your own contemplations, come back to the teacher to ask any questions if left, your knowledge will become undoubted knowledge. But you may still not enjoy the benefits of being a Jeevan Mukta, right? So for this, you will continue doing Nididhyasana, Vedantic meditation, which I suggested you all can wait till we reach chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita, right? So through this whole process, at some point, this indirect knowledge will become direct. So this indirect knowledge will become direct knowledge. It will become aparoksha jnana. And then you will enjoy the benefits of moksha while living. And that's who we call a Jeevan Mukta, liberated while living. Incidentally, if you ever meet Swami Paramarthananda in the picture behind me, you will have no doubt that you're meeting a liberated soul. I mean, to be fair, it's my own Shraddha saying that. Shastra will tell you that you can't actually know, right? So even Arjuna will ask Lord Krishna, how does a liberated person look? How will they talk? And how will they, in what manner will they behave, and so on. And Lord Krishna actually ignores that question because there is no external manifestations of Jeevan Mukti. And only the person themselves can really know if they are Mukta or not. So while I say this with full Shraddha of Swami Paramarthananda, know that from a Shastric point of view, it has to be taken with a pinch of salt. So what is liberation, right? So at which point am I liberated? I will realize that I am the OC temporarily manifesting in this reflecting medium of the body-mind sense complex. And in a distorted form, this RM, the reflecting medium, will perish at some point. This body will die, but the OC, the original consciousness, it is eternal. Me as OC, as Brahman, will never die. So, and on death, when a Jeevan Mukta dies, there is no travel which happens somewhere. It's the wave merging into the ocean. But while if you're not fully ready for it, it might seem scary. You know, you say, do you want liberation right now, where you merge into the totality, you do not have any more individuality left? When it's properly understood, there will not be any fear. Because just like deep sleep, you go into deep sleep every night in a non-dual state, and but there is no fear of deep sleep. Similarly, if understood well, there should be no fear of this loss of individuality when the individual merges into the whole. So similar to your deep sleep in one way, but completely different, because you will have, it is with full awareness that awareness is all that continues to exist. And it will simply be like waking up from this dream. So for a Jeevan Mukta, they will still see everything that you and I see. They will still have the same experiences depending on the karma left of the body. But waking up to their higher nature, they can no longer be any suffering. They can be liberated, fully liberated while alive. And life becomes a leela, having just a play. Any questions on what is Jeevan Mukti? Actually, we will go into what is Jeevan Mukti in the next verse. But any questions on what I said?
I'll also want to know more about Videhe Mukti and Jeevan Mukti. That never seeps in.
Pardon me?
Videhe Mukti and Jeevan Mukti, the difference?
Yeah, those terms will be introduced to you in Bhagavad Gita, but very quickly. Jeevan Mukti means liberated while alive, right? So when a Jeevan Mukta dies, like in the sense that the body of that Jeevan Mukta drops, that's Videha Mukti, means there will be no further rebirth of the body. But we will get into the exact, what happens and later in this text itself.
Okay.
But that's the difference between the two terms.
Okay.
So let's take one more verse. I'm not sure if we will have full time to finish it, but we can try a little bit. Yeah, you can unmute yourself. Jeevan Mukta Kaham.
Jeevan Mukta
जीवनमुक्तः
Yata Dehoham.
Jata
यथा
devam
देवोऽहम्
Purushoham Brahmanoham.
पुरुषोऽहम्
Purushoham
ब्राह्मणोऽहम्
Shudroham Asmiti.
शूद्रोऽहम् अस्मीति
Dridha Tata.
दृढनिश्चयस्तथा
Naham Brahmano.
नाहं ब्राह्मणो
Na Shudro na Purushaha.
न शूद्रः न पुरुषः
Kintu Asangaha.
किन्तु असङ्गः
Satchidananda Swarupaha.
सच्चिदानन्दस्वरूपः
Prakasharupaha.
Prakasharupaha
Sarvantaya Yarmi.
सर्वान्तर्यामी
Chidakasharuposmiti.
चिदाकाशरूपोऽस्मीति
Smriti
Dridnishchaya
दृढनिश्चयरूपः
Rupaha
Paroksha Jnanavan.
Paroksha
परोक्षज्ञानवान्
Jeevan Muktaha.
Jeevan
जीवन्मुक्तः
So it's a long sentence, but fairly simple in what it says. Let me break it down for you. So in very short, it's saying the one who's identifying with this body, thinking I'm a man or female, thinking I'm a Brahmin or a Shudra, that misconception goes away, and with complete doubtless knowledge, I will know that I'm not a man or a woman. I will know I'm not a Brahman or a Shudra, that I am actually asangaha. I am not attached to anything. I am the form of Satchidananda. So we talked about Sat, Chit, and Ananda. I am the form of this absolute consciousness, absolute bliss, and absolute existence. I am the form of Prakasha. And so they will have this Aparoksha Jnana, which is the Jeevan Mukta. For them, right now, some of us have Paroksha Jnana. But you'll say even Paroksha Jnana, when this knowledge becomes doubtless, you have Paroksha Jnana. But when that knowledge from knowing the being actually happens, right? When this indirect knowledge becomes direct knowledge, that is Aparoksha Jnana. So that is the main characteristic of a liberated person, is this Aparoksha Jnanavan Jeevan Mukta. This liberated person is one who has this direct self-knowledge. Right? So knowledge is of three types in Shastra. So when you talk about knowledge of something far away from me, remote to me, not available for direct experience, this indirect knowledge would be Paroksha Jnana. For example, a friend of yours went to Australia and they come and tell you, I saw a kangaroo. It's this absolutely fascinating brown animal. It has strong hind legs, big strong tail, and they kind of hop around like rabbits. And they can hop up to 30 feet and travel as far as a car. And they carry their young in a pouch. Right? So now you have this indirect knowledge based on what your friend told you about what a kangaroo is. So, and the next type of knowledge is knowledge of an object, direct, available in front of me, available for direct perception, which is pratyaksha jnanam, direct experience, something which can be tasted, touched, felt, heard, seen. So your friend themselves, they had the pratyaksha jnanam of a kangaroo. They directly perceived this kangaroo. And like I said, it's through these various senses, often a mix of how you get that information can be through a mix of different senses. But both these are knowledge of an object. But the self-knowledge that we're talking about belongs to a completely different category. Because we are not talking about the object, we are talking about the subject. I am the subject of this knowledge. I'm talking about myself, not a remote object or a proximate object. I am talking about myself, the subject. And when you realize this knowledge as self-knowledge, that is a paroksha jnana. You can never claim direct experience of the self, because in a non-dual state, how will I experience myself? But yet, when I have this knowledge, these benefits of a Jeevan Mukta will appear. Right? So, because when I realize there is no other, there will be no desire for anything outside myself, because I will operate from this feeling of being Purna, being complete. There will be no fear of death of this mortal body, because I will have the direct knowledge that I am not this body. There will be no fear of death of any other bodies, because as the verse says, I know I am asangaha. I am not separate from anything else. So there cannot be fear of death of anyone in your life, neither. Initially, all this knowledge for perhaps many years, quicker, depending on how ready you are for this knowledge, how much of your own effort you put in, it will be paroksha knowledge, right? Like babies looking at themselves in the mirror. They initially only, they feel joy at this idea of, this smiling baby looking back at them. They will smile back at the baby, just like they will try to touch, because they don't yet have the sense of the real self. Only when older, something between the ages of 1.5 to 3, they will start getting more a sense of that self, right? And at some point, they will know that this image I see in the mirror is but me. So we are like that too. We right now worship Ishvara, which is beautiful, which is devotion is amazing, because we are not yet able to see ourselves as this absolute everything. So at this stage in our life, if you are in that stage, it is beautiful to have an external object to worship Ishvara as this everything that we want to see in ourselves. So you will, when you're doing that rounds around the temple, the yatra, you will know that initially you might chant Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, right? And from there, you will, from that dual bhakti, at some point, you will go to Shivoham, Shivoham, knowing that I am that Shiva, I am that Shiva, I am that absolute consciousness that I was worshipping. And still the devotion will remain, which is why even Jeevan Muktas like Adi Shankaracharya, Ramana Maharishi wrote so much prose of love and devotion towards Ishvara, right? So, Sarva Mana Hridisyam, that's why that there will be this undoubted knowledge is what it's saying. So that's why in the beginning we pray Tejasvina Aditamastu. What we study be bright. Let this understanding remain in my mind and remove the ignorance. And may I realize Aham Satchitananda Swarupa. So now the verse will recall the definition of Atma, but we went through quite an important bit about Jeevan Mukta. And yes, please feel free to ask any questions at this point. We'll probably end the class with the questions. Is the
analogies, the kangaroo analogy was very interesting. Thank you for that. What would be the aproksha jnanam in that analogy?
Aparoksha Jnanam in that analogy is not available. Aparoksha Jnanam is because, I mean, we are saying it is not a knowledge which can come through perception. So that whole analogy was to say that's not a way you can get Aparoksha Jnanam.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Thank you.
So only this Aparoksha Jnanam can only be given to you by Shastra Pramanam. I mean, Shastra Pramanam, even when you hear Shastra Pramanam first, it will be Paroksha Jnanam. But at some point, when you have that realization, it becomes Aparoksha Jnanam. So the technicalities of it is not explained in Tattva Bodha, but you will hear about it later. If you want to know, if you want to just very briefly know, you don't need to remember it right now. It's called an Akanda Akara Vritti. There will be this vritti, this thought, a very clear thought, which is Akanda, which has no separation, which will happen, which will come giving you that direct realization of Aham Brahmasmi. And that's the point in time. We could say, at this stage, we could say moksha is achieved, but it is basically, this whole journey is kind of realizing also that moksha, you were always free. But if you talk about the point in time where you start enjoying the benefits 100% of who you already are, right? That happens when this Akandakara Vritti happens, and this Paroksha Jnanam becomes Aparoksha Jnanam.
Spandana ji? Spandana ji?
Yes, I don't see who's speaking, but please tell me.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Induji, please tell me.
So you said that Videhi Mukti is when you leave the body.
Yes.
When your body falls at the time of death,
Hmm.
then there is no rebirth. That is Videhi Mukti. Or falling of the body is the Videhi Mukti.
Videha Mukti, but like it's, so if a non-liberated person dies, we don't call it Videha Mukti. That is
Then
just,
what?
yeah, right.
Then,
So only when a Jeevan Mukta dies, we call it Videha Mukti.
then what's the difference? Again, there's another word that we hear in Gita classes, Dehi Mukti.
Deha Mukti just means death of the body. Deha is body.
Okay, Videhi Mukti is as a jnani when you die, then it is.
When a jnani dies, because that when a jnani dies, the cycle of birth and death ends for that.
Okay, so that's Videhi Mukti.
That's Videha Mukti.
So it's Jeevan Mukta is while you are alive. You get this jnanam that I am really liberated, and that's okay.
Mhm.
Very good.
Any other questions?
शब्दों का ज्ञान तो बहुत होने लगता है, पर उसको बिल्कुल इंटरनलाइज करना is अपरोक्ष ज्ञान really.
Yes, it will happen. You're on the path. Once, and at some point, you won't even feel like you're doing any sadhana. I once asked an aged yogi, who's a good friend also, who'd been doing a lifetime of sadhana, spent. And asked him at this point how because he admits that he is not yet liberated fully. I asked him, how do you see the benefits of this knowledge in you? Like he explained, I feel like I've been on this kind of roller coaster ride, climbing up with all this intense sadhana I've been doing. And at some point, I felt like I reached the top. I have been given everything I need already. Like I already starting to get the sense of I am free. I've always been free. So now it's just this gentle sailing down to the end goal. And there is no more effort required. I just have to sit there and kind of enjoy the ride. At some point, you will feel that, none of this. And I'm sure a lot of you are, especially people like you, Induji, who've been doing this study for so long, will already start feeling that. You won't feel that I'm doing sadhana, that I'm putting some kind of effort into this, because you're just doing things you love to do. And that's also your Shraddha, knowing that you're getting everything that you need. At some point, you will feel I already have the whole formula of what I need, and I now enjoy the rest of the ride.
अभी तो I am only at chapter 8. So बहुत है journey.
It will happen. It's not necessarily, yes.
I know it's not chapter linked really.
Yeah.
But still, it will
Yes, but we do say this systematic long-term study is what is required.
definitely.
So
And
it will happen. I mean, everyone, we keep talking about FIR, right? People already start experiencing the benefits. Any other questions?
time.
Great, wonderful. And so I've also offered this before. And again, you're very welcome, especially as now we're reaching the end of this this particular Tattva Bodha, and you will have your other teachers from the Sampradaya. But at any point you want some one-on-one guidance from me or any of the teachers, do feel free to reach out and ask for some time. If you have specific questions about what particular sadhana you must do for yourself, if there is any kind of urgency of a query you ever feel perfectly comfortable to reach out to us. And be happy to take that. But if it's general queries which would benefit everyone else, as usual, we encourage you to post on the group. Yeah. Thank you. We will end with the closing prayers. Om Namadah Hari Om Namaha Om Tat Sat.
That's it.
Have a beautiful week. See you next week.
Thank you, Spandana ji.
Thank you.